Good morning. It is the 13th of December, 2019. We are going to start our bathroom remodel job today. It's actually a powder room. It doesn't have a shower. It's just a toilet and a vanity. Right now, I believe just a toilet is in the room and it's kind of taken apart by the homeowner. So we're going to go in and we're going to put new drywall on the ceiling, new lights, wainscoting, flooring, new toilet, new vanity, everything that's required. And today is Friday the 13th. What could go wrong? I got to Lowe's in Middletown, Pennsylvania, 7:28 a.m. I was the first person online at customer service, which was nice for a change. However, it didn't benefit me even one bit. I told them I was there to pick up the order. She couldn't find it. Couldn't find the customer's last name. I respelled it several times. Finally, she says, "Oh, the computer delayed it. It popped up." She goes, "I'll have somebody go get it. It's in receiving." A few minutes later, a woman by the name of Stephanie returns with the order, and it's missing like most of the order, and it's got hinges and cabinet hinges and things on it that don't even go to this job, that I didn't order and that the customer didn't order. So I explained to him that I don't think the hinges go to this order unless the customer's ordered them for something else and I'm just delivering them with this order. I said, but I don't think so. They would have mentioned it to me. I said, and it's missing all the trim. It's missing this. This is the wrong size. She goes, "Oh, all right, we'll get it taken care of." So she scans everything on the cart, takes note of what she needs, and she disappears. An hour and one half later, maybe shy by 2 or 3 minutes. It was like an hour and 26 minutes or 27 minutes later. She comes back and she goes, "They only had 4 of these. You have 5 on the order." And I said, "I already got those. You repicked something that I already have. I didn't even need them." So she goes, "Well, we don't have enough of this trim, and we don't have this, and we don't have that." So I needed some other things too, and I was shopping a little bit while I was waiting for her because I needed some styrofoam board so I could lay it down and cut the wainscoting outside, and I needed some new saw blades, and I needed a light for this job, an LED light for the ceiling. So I went and gathered all that. It took me about 15 minutes. I said, "You know, I think you guys need to give me a discount on some of this other stuff." I said, "because this is ridiculous. An hour and a half." I said, "You know, if I told you what I got paid an hour to do the work that I do, you would probably be rushing a little faster if you were paying me by the hour." So they said, "Well, we're going to give you a discount." Well, come to find out, they gave me a $10 discount. $10. I got $10 for an hour and a half of my time. So this is a shame on Lowe's and a shame on the Lowe's in Middletown, Pennsylvania. You lost a customer. You paid me $10 to never, ever come back. So now we're arriving at the customer's house, and I need to get started because we're now late for the customer because of Lowe's and their shenanigans. So we'll get right into this right after this. It gets better. So I just found out from the customer that they pulled the order. They went physically into the store, walked around shopping for what they wanted, put it on a cart, paid for it, and it was there for me. And then Lowe's screwed that up. Alright, so here's some before shots. There's ceiling missing, lights dangling out of the ceiling. Whatever was on the wall here is all ripped off with glue marks left. It's a nasty brown color. There's gouges in the wall. Heating vent ripped out. No base trim. floor is stick down tile. Lights just hanging there. Big gaping holes where the ceiling meets the wall. It's a terrible mess. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a measurement so I know how long the pieces of wainscoting needs to be. This is a really difficult wall here because the door casing is kind of jammed up against the wall and there's a big gap there, and I don't really know how it looked before because this is the way I found the room, but when I finish it, it has to look complete. So I'm going to get the widest measurement I can and get this piece of wainscoting cut to fit. I also think it's important to mention that rather than put the wainscoting on sawhorses and try to cut it and keep one end from falling as the cut completes, it's so much easier to lay it on top of a piece of styrofoam insulation board. This here is laying on top of a 2-inch thick piece of styrofoam insulation board, and it allows me to set the depth of my blade a little bit deeper than the wainscoting. It cuts into the styrofoam a little bit, but it makes for a nice clean cut. My blade doesn't hit the ground, nothing chips off, nothing falls. It's so much easier. It's worth the cost of the insulation board, trust me on that one. Did I also mention you can crawl across it so you can make a nicer cut? And the styrofoam insulation board holds your weight. Yeah, even my weight. Alright, what I'm showing you is I drew a level line on this wall here, and I'm going to continue it onto the back wall. Now you'll notice that the wainscoting don't match up with that line. It's a little bit lower than it. And the reason is because I'm going to be putting base trim on the floor and tile, and I want everything to slide under the wainscoting. So I have like an inch of space, and I'm going to lift the wainscoting up to the line, and then I'll attach it to the wall that way. This way there's room underneath of it, and I don't have to cut it exactly where I need it and try to make it fit to that line. I can cut it, you know, like I said, an inch shorter and bring it to that line and make sure it's plumb at the same time. Just makes an easier install. Alright, so what I'm showing you here is that I'm taking this piece of wainscoting, I'm lifting it off of the floor and bringing it right to that level line that I drew. That space you see cut out of the door casing right there, ignore that. I'm going to repair that later. Somebody else cut that. I have no idea what that's all about. So I've cut this piece of wainscoting not only to wrap around the heating vent, but it also fits over the 1/2-inch copper line supplying the toilet with water. That's good. Right on the money. Right on the money. Right on the money, honey. This is the piece of wainscoting that's going to be behind the vanity. So I didn't drill out each individual piece of copper line in the drain. It doesn't matter. I cut right around the whole group of them. It's going to be behind the vanity. Nobody's ever going to see it. Saves time. If this was going to be visible, you'd have to do a better job than that. Perfect. It's perfect. You heard me say it. It's perfect. Now this isn't staying in position. I have to put adhesive on the wall and slide it back in here. I'm just kind of sitting it in place right now and just making sure everything fits properly. 10, Now I'm just measuring for where the outlet is so I can cut the hole in the wainscoting to match.
6 3/4. 2 3/4. 6 3/4. Thirty-four. 34 by 51. 34.
Oh, you gotta love it when that happens. Right in the groove. So I use a DeWalt wall scanner to find the studs. It also will let me know if there's any electrical lines or water lines hidden in the wall. So this way I don't drive a nail through something that's going to cause me a delay or lots of money to repair. Okay, the moment you all been waiting for. I'm adding the adhesive to the wall here, and I'm going to put up the first panel. And then we'll just keep moving to the right until it's all done. Now I'm going to speed this video up right here because this is really boring. But I do want you to see the panels go into place, because when this whole entire video is done, and I'm probably going to have to break this up into segments, but when it's done, when you see what this bathroom powder room looks like, you're going to be totally amazed. It is like night and day from how it started. And the client was totally impressed with this and very thankful for the work that I performed for her. But I don't want to bore the living daylights out of you watching it either, where you have to watch every move I make. So let me speed this up and get these panels into place, and we'll move on to something different. Now you might be wondering, now why is Bob working around the toilet instead of removing it? Well, I'll tell you. My customer has 4 or 5 family members living in this house, and they have 2 bathrooms. And if you bring that down to 1 toilet, man, you're asking for trouble. I'm going to leave this in as long as I possibly can for them. Quick note, none of these nails will be visible after I'm done, because they're all going to fall behind where some form of trim is going to be installed. I know it looks a little ugly right now, but it won't when I'm done. That's ugly. This is all next. I gotta take this down. I'm gonna replace it. Yeah, I know. I left the light off. That's because I was planning on taking the light down and putting the LED light in, which I will do shortly, but I can see the screws in this drywall easy enough from the light coming in the window, so I didn't need it.
Nope. 1560.
What's the chances that both of these measurements are going to match?
1560s. All right.
Okay, it's pretty obvious this is not going to fit. And this is a very difficult thing to do by yourself. So I am going to take this back out. We're going to cut a little bit off of it, and then we'll try this again, because this is killing my back. All the old timers where I come from would tell you, don't grow old. That's their way of saying that being older in your 50s, 60s, and 70s sucks when you're trying to get anything accomplished, because it hurts. Everything you do aches and pains. So my advice to you, if you're watching this video, don't grow old. It's not good for you. So the reason I'm replacing the drywall that was up here is because I don't want butt joints on the ceiling. I'd rather use two pieces that span the width of the room and give me a bevel joint in the middle than the three pieces that I would have had to use had I kept that blue board up there that the homeowner apparently installed in an attempt to try to remodel this. Now, the homeowner's a very busy guy. He's working a lot. In fact, during this whole remodel, I've never even seen him just one time even. He's always been at work. So he doesn't have time to finish this, and that's why they hired me to do it. And anytime I do drywall, I always think of how I'm going to finish the drywall, and I make it the easiest way possible. Alright, so I didn't show you this on the camera, but I measured the room to find the center, and I put an X in the center of the ceiling. Most of these lights come with a pattern. Just put your pencil right through the center of it and stick it right on the X you made on the ceiling, and then you know you have your pattern perfectly centered on the ceiling where it goes. And then all you have to do is trace it out. Now if the ceiling's open, I can just reach in and pull my wire out. Now in this particular case, I know they're not live because the switch is off, but all situations are different and yours could be, so you should consult an electrician if you're not sure. Now this is the easiest part ever. You just lay the box and everything in the ceiling. These two orange clips that I'm pointing to here, they just bend up, they're spring loaded. Push them up with your fingers. You push them through the drywall hole and they'll snap back down and hold the light in place. It's easy. Couldn't be any easier than this.
Much better. Now I gotta start doing some drywall. Spackling.
So what I'm using here is Durabond 90. Durabond 90 is a fast setting compound that sets in approximately 90 minutes. Of course, that's not going to stand true if you put a very thick coat on. I had some massive holes up in here, and while I could have cut the drywall out and replaced the drywall and then taped the seams, I was able to just take the Durabond 90, pack it into the holes, and let it harden. This stuff is like concrete when it cures. And if you pre-fill all your seams with Durabond 90, you should never ever get cracking. You know how you visit some homes and you see the tape showing and you see little cracks where the corner bead is? Well, Durabond 90 generally prevents that from happening. So before I tape any seams, I always pre-fill them with Durabond 90. Now if you look at the ceiling, you see the seam there. There's no tape, but that entire seam is filled with Durabond 90. This way, as the house settles and shifts a little bit over time, this client should never get a crack in their ceiling. Alright, it's important to note, Durabond 90 is not a sandable product. I don't care what the bag says. This stuff hardens like concrete, like I said, so make sure that you don't leave any trowel marks or anything that's not going to be covered by another product, such as the all-purpose compound or something that is sandable. you'll notice I'm using the tool to squish the Durabond 90 up into the seam. This is still going to require a taped seam, but this way it strengthens the corner just like it does everywhere else, and no cracks will ever appear. Okay, so I saved you from being bored to death watching me do the whole room. All the seams are pre-filled. Now there's two spots I want to point out. One of them is right here. You see there's still a gap. And the other side of the window also has a gap. These were very large holes. So I packed them full of Durabond 90. If I would have packed too much more, they would have slumped forward and created a bump in the wall. Once that hardens, I'm going to go ahead and pre-fill what's left with more Durabond 90, followed by a taped seam. All right, here's a quick slideshow just recapping part 1 of this 5-part series. I want to invite you to watch the rest of the series. Even if it's not uploaded yet, that is what I'm working on right now, so the next video after this one will be part 2. The project is completely done, and I have all of the video and everything I need to do it. I also have a ton of other videos if you're interested in watching me work, and I invite you to subscribe, like, share, and all that happy stuff. I'll see you next time.